Hello and welcome. Now, this is time to create a Linux instance. Okay. So, in previous video, we just created Windows instance, and now today we are going to create a Linux instance. Okay. Now, process will be like same. The way you access your EC2 instance, like Linux instance, is a little different than Windows instance. Okay. So, I will not take your more time in this video, because as you already having detail like how we can create Windows instance. Okay, so now we are going to create Linux instance, right? Let me share my screen. So here we have EC2 instance, like EC2 management console. Okay, so again, like how we can go over here, we have to go to the compute, then select EC2. Here we have this EC2 dashboard, and now I have to select launch instance. Okay, before you launch instance, make sure that your region is like Mumbai, like in which you want to create your EC2 instance, like save, and then click launch instance. Right now we are creating Linux, so I'm going to select Amazon Linux 2. This is Amazon's own distribution of Linux, and if you want to create Red Hat or SUSE, you can. Yeah, it is up to you. And now I'm going to create this Amazon Linux. Okay, now wait a minute. Okay, so just click on select and it will create Linux. Okay, again same instance type, and we have this T2 micro, like free instance that we are creating. Okay, configure instance detail. Again, I must to assign public IP, and I'm going to create only one instance. We'll talk about this later. And I don't have any preference, so let Amazon decide best availabilities on my for my EC2 instance. Okay, so we'll talk about all this in upcoming session. Yeah, so click add storage. As I explained you, we are creating EBS backed volume. Then if you have Linux instance, 8 GB. If you have Windows, 30. Yeah, again, delete on termination. You cannot edit this later. So if you don't want to, if you want to keep your EC2 instance, if you want to keep your EBS volume while you deleting your EC2 instance, you have to you have to remove this option. Yeah, now right now we are creating for learning, so it is okay, right? And then click at tags. Again, in the previous video I added this tag. Now I don't want to add this, so click on security group. Now we are having security group. As we can select existing, yeah, we have this group, like this is the group that we created when we created the Windows instance, right? So we can select this, but it has a 3389 which is not allowed for Windows, like for Linux. So I'm going to create new security group. It is not best practice to create security group every time when you create EC2 instance. The best practice is you should create your security group before you create EC2 instance. But we'll understand the concept of security group first, and then we will follow this best practice. Right now I'm going to give name SG for Linux. Okay, and if you have Windows instance, the port is 3389, but if you have Linux instance, the port number is 22. Like Linux is, or like if you want to access Linux, we have to use SSH. Yeah, SSH is for remote accessibility, and this is secure. Okay, and SSH works on TCP port number 22, and it is allowing like this SSH session is allowed from any IP. Yeah, so we have the source IP over here, right? So done, and now I'm going to click review and launch, and yeah, again it is telling me that your instance is open to the world because the 0.0.0, but don't need to worry about it. Okay, and I'm going to click launch instance. Again, key public private key, and now I'm going to use this key for my Linux instance. Yeah, Linux having some different system, but yeah, if you have existing key, like I'm having this existing key, I can use this. And if you want to create new one, you can create new one as well, right? Recommendation is like just create one key and use it with any instance. You can use it with the multiple instance, no problem. But if you want to create key for your instance, you can create new key as well. Okay, so let me create this, and I'm going to click give name like Linux underscore a new Linux. Okay, because I'm having doubt, like I'm already having with one key with the name Linux. Okay, so the key name should be like a unique. Okay, so if you're already having this key, you cannot create another key with the same name. So I'm going to click download key pair, and I'm going to save this key into the E drive key folder. Yeah, keep this in mind, because here we have to use this key when we are going to establish SSH session with our EC2 instance. Okay, so the key will be in E drive key folder, and the key name is new linux.pam. Okay, yeah, whenever you are creating, like whenever you will create this EC2 instance, also keep this in mind. Yeah, location of key. Okay, and then click save, and then launch instance. Your instance is now launching, same process. Okay, and here is like my instance, like my instance is under process. Let me give name like my first my first server Linux. Okay, and then click save. Okay, so this is like my Windows. It was terminated, but it will be like in the terminate set, so no need to worry. Same thing. Okay, same thing, like this is instance ID, IP address, public, private, everything. Yeah, so there is no changes over here. Okay, security group, it is like 22 allowed, outgoing port all. Okay, so we don't have any changes over here. We just need to wait until our instance will be ready. Okay, now if you are using Windows instance, you can generate password using PAM file, like with the private key. Yeah, if you are using Linux instance, we have to establish SSH session using this private key. Okay, now previously there was a procedure. It is like you have this PAM key, then you have to convert this PAM key into the PPK, and then you have to use putty. It is a software that is required. You must have this software in your computer, then you have to use putty, and you have to provide them this PPK file. So to use putty, you have to generate this PAM file into the PPK, and it was the process, like it was previous process that we had to use. But now we can use Windows command line, and we can access our EC2 instance directly from the command line. Okay, so how can I do this? The thing is, like, I have to open command prompt. Okay, so this is Windows command prompt. Okay, now I have to give the command. Now the command is ssh-i. Okay, and then I have to give the key location. Yeah, then I have to give the key location. So it is E drive. Sorry, let me verify this. Yeah, it is E drive, and then we have key folder. Okay, so E key folder. You can use tab key. Yeah, it is like easy to use tab key. And then we have this. Inside this key folder, we are having, wait, tab is not working. Yeah, it is new linux.pam. Okay, so here is like just type new linux.pam. So this is the path of the key, and then now you have to take care. Okay, if you have Linux instance, okay, you have to verify that, like, which Linux you are using. Now I'm using Amazon Linux. Yeah, so Amazon Linux having a default password of default username is EC2 user. Okay, now if you are creating SUSE Linux, it has a different username. If you are using Red Hat Linux, it has a different. If you are using Ubuntu, it has a difference. Okay, so you have to find it out, like what is the default username for Linux, like Ubuntu instance in Amazon AWS, right? But I'm using like a Linux, which is Amazon Linux, and it has a default username is EC2 user. Okay, so I have to use like EC2 dash user. Okay, and then you have to use @ and then you just need to copy the IP address. So here we have IP address, detail, and here we have IP address. Make sure that you are using public IP. Okay, so this is public IP, and now press enter. Okay, are you sure you want to continue connecting? Say yes. Okay, and here, okay, permission for is to open. Okay, now this is problem here, like this is the problem you will face if your key is not in C drive. Okay, so let me transfer this key into the C drive. Yeah, this is good to have this type of error, because if you will store this into the local folder, like you may face same error, right? And then if you have this detail, you can solve this. So that good. And now I'm going to change this. So now we have C drive. Okay, wait, I C colon what is folder name? We have like a key folder. Okay, and then we have new linux.pem, and then EC2 there's user and at the red and use IP address. Okay, okay, let me change the location. Okay, let me change the location. So I'm going to cut from here, and I'm going to store this into the user admin. Okay, so user admin folder. Okay, paste. Now let me verify this. Okay, C drive, users, admin, and then we have this key folder, and then we have key name new Linux and EC2 there's user, and then this like IP address. Okay, I have to copy this. Okay, so yeah, now we are able to access this. Okay, so this folder, like this key must be in the users folder. Okay, if it is will be in the open location, you cannot able to access this. Okay, this is good, keep this in mind. Yeah, even I accidentally store them into the E drive, which is like open drive. Okay, so this is good. This is my EC2 instance. This is totally command line. You will not get GUI for your Linux instance, right? So this is done. Now in next video we'll talk about data storage for our EC2 instance. Okay, so now we will start a series in which we'll talk about EBS volume, we'll talk about EFS, and there is one another option. We'll talk about EBS, EFS, and FSX. Okay, so this will be the series. We call it storage for your EC2 instances. Okay, so now it is done. Now do not forget to delete this instance. Okay, so to delete this, select and click instance stat and then click terminate. Okay, so now it is done. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video, and if you have any question you can comment below. I will try to answer very quickly. Okay, and now I hope you are enjoying this learning. Okay, if you have any question, you can ask question in a Telegram group. And another way is like, if you want to learn something, another thing, yeah, you can message me on the Telegram, and I will try to add this topic in our inner circle meetings. Yeah, so done, and thank you very much. See you in the next video.